Hi guys. I'm gonna be working out, so you'll have to watch his boring
She's
stuff.
got to get some elliptical miles in.
Don't be so rude about
Well,
that.
she does.
He's rude. Sorry that he's boring, so have fun.
She's more boring.
No, I'm not. I'm the one that brought all your followers here, so you're welcome.
Is that what happened?
Yes. Exactly.
So I just wanted to do, hey, Huzzah. What's up, buddy? Just wanted to do a little live stream chat, something kind of one of my big areas of interest outside of making videos about political stuff and theory and whatnot is growing food, and something that I've been doing for, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years right now. I had a friend I've known since elementary school. We reconnected about 8 or 9 years ago, and he kind of started growing food a little bit, and then so he kind of got me into it, and I've been kind of slowly progressing since then. And right now is a really good time to be. Yeah, there was quite a bit of snow out where the greenhouse is on my family's property. I was out there the other day. It looked like a little bit of a winter wonderland type situation. So it's pretty neat. But anyways, if you are in the northern hemisphere, now is a really good time to be thinking about what you want to maybe grow this upcoming garden growing season. As in the next couple of months, you could maybe be starting some tomatoes inside, or March, April, depending on what zone you're in. You could be planting some stuff outdoors, getting seeds started inside, etc. So now is a really good time to start thinking about that stuff and growing your own food. Foraging for food, in my opinion, is one of the biggest ways that you can really indulge in self-care. And if you grow an excess of food, you can share that with your family, your friends, your broader community. And as the Black Panther Party said, survival pending revolution. So you got to be able to eat. Growing your own food obviously can be a very revolutionary act, and there's a lot of different ways to do it, and you just have to kind of find what way works for you. And first off, I'm going to show these USDA hardiness zones, because it's important to know what USDA hardiness zone you're in, because that way you can tell different planting dates, like days of first frost, last frost, as well as just different fruit trees and things like that, different perennials that would do good in their climate. So I'm in Washington State. Here's the plant hardiness zone for Washington State, and you can see down here those are the growing zones. So we have all the way from 4A up to 9A, and I'm in this area here, zone 8B, here in King County. So that means the average annual minimum temperature between 1976 and 2005 was between 15 and 20 degrees. So that means the things you're going to be able to grow in this particular area are going to be quite a bit different, particularly in this area up here, the 4B to kind of 5B area. It makes sense, right? Different foods require different amount of chill hours. So that's why things like peaches, nectarines do really good over here in Eastern Washington. I've tried to grow peaches and nectarines over where I live here in King County, and they do not do good. So I've stopped trying to grow those and have doubled down on things that I know do really well. So looking at the plant hardiness zones, looking that up and figuring out where that is in your context is super important. So again, I live in zone 8B. And then so I grow stuff and plant according to that hardiness zone. And then so usually the higher in the zones you go, the warmer it is. So places like Southern California, that's going to be like zone 10A, 10B. Colder places have lower average temperatures. So super important. You can just put in your zip code or the city that you live in, and that will tell you what USDA hardiness zone applies to where you live. And there's probably something similar for people, outside of the USA context. And then obviously there's a lot of different ways to grow food. So for example, some different ways that I've experimented growing food included raised garden beds, which you can make out of, different types of wood, lumber. You could just use logs. I've seen people use cinder blocks before. So whatever you have just to make a raised bed off the ground has a number of advantages. I'll just bring up a picture here for a little bit of reference. Raised garden bed. Garden bed. Okay, images. There we go. Yeah. Let's see. I'm snacking on some apple chips. I don't know if these were homegrown, maybe foraged and then just dehydrated with a little bit of cinnamon. Christiane says they're foraged. Let's see. Raised beds. Oh, wait, there it is. Okay. Well, these are what raised beds are, and you definitely do not need to be spending the amount of money on these things. Like, that is ridiculous for 10 by however big that is, like $350. Like, that's ridiculous. You could get some lumber and make something like that for easily less than $100, if not more. You could even make it out of, scrap wood, just going on, Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or whatever, and finding, some free scrap wood and making it out of that, right? Definitely don't want to be using, if you're going the raised bed route, you don't want to be using any type of treated wood or lumber, because those chemicals could leach into your soil and then get into your food, and you definitely don't want to be eating any more chemicals than you have to, right? So those are raised garden beds. Lots of different ways to do it. Some of the benefits of doing a raised bed: it's a little easier to get to because it's off the ground, and particularly, for maybe older people, folks with, back problems, you can make them, stack them high, like that, make them super accessible. So that's an added benefit. Also have an added benefit of, being less prone to getting, weeds and stuff, which is definitely a benefit in my opinion. They're also off the ground a little bit. They're elevated, obviously. So another added bonus is that they tend to dry out faster. So they're going to be a little warmer. They're going to get, you can get stuff started in those quicker than if you're just planting straight, in the soil. So yeah, it's, I feel I don't have really any property myself right now. Deer, I have a tiny little kind of side yard in our duplex, in our half of the duplex here. Just have some like container gardens and stuff growing. But people that don't have access to land or property, community gardens are also really a great way to grow food. It's actually something I'm going to apply for a couple of plots at the local community garden here in our city. I think it's like 50, 60 bucks for a season, and the growing season here, you can have access to it April through, I want to say October 31st. So a decent amount of time. I think that's what, 7 months, that just for 50, 60 bucks, you have 10 by 20 garden plot. You can get 2 of them. That's 20 by 40. You can grow a decent amount of food, in these community garden plots. And at least most of the bigger cities I've seen, at least here in Washington State, have some type of community garden program, which is pretty cool. So that's an avenue that I'm going to pursue this year, because the very small yard that we have don't really have a whole lot of space to grow stuff. And so that's definitely another great way to grow food, is at a community garden plot. And just look up, community gardens, in your particular area, and see what comes up. I think most big cities, or even, moderately sized cities, probably have something like that in the United States. I could be wrong, but different places I've been to, I've seen them around, particularly here in the Pacific Northwest. So raised beds. I guess a drawback to raised beds would be if you are in a very dry and arid climate and you don't want the soil to dry out quicker. Raised beds would kind of have a drawback in that context. But if you live in a really wet climate and you deal with really heavy and clay soils and too much, moisture getting in the soil, then a raised bed would be also beneficial in that way. And then obviously, just planting stuff straight up, in the ground, that kind of has a benefit over the raised bed, because you don't have to, get any type of materials. You just, amend the soil, get it ready to plant. Boom. That's all you got to do. Kind of a drawback to that is that the weed pressure is going to be definitely higher than if you did it in a raised bed. One way, if you are just kind of wanting to plant in the ground, would be to cover the garden area several months ahead of planting time with something like a bunch of layers of cardboard or burlap or something like that to kill off the grass, kill off the weeds, because that really gives you a huge advantage, and it will save you a lot of time and effort. Because if you wait right until before you want to plant something to get the garden, get the soil ready, it's going to take a lot more work and time, and the weed pressure is going to be a lot higher throughout that growing season. So right now is a great time to prep whatever it is you're going to be growing in this season for the next growing season. And I used to use, we call it, I don't know, I forget the name for this particular plastic, but it's used in different kind of gardening contexts to kill off, grass and weeds and prepare garden space. But trying to get away from that, so I've just been using cardboard. Thick layers of cardboard work great. And it also has the added benefit of, once you're done using those on your annual beds, put that around the base of like fruit trees or berry bushes or pathways, right? And it's also biodegradable, unlike plastic. So we went over garden beds, raised beds, containers. Growing in containers and grow bags is also a really good way, and they're portable. Like, you can move them around. They're fairly inexpensive to buy. All you have to do is obviously put soil in them. And you could probably also find them for free, if not very, very inexpensive, on sites like Craigslist, or maybe go to your local nursery, see if they have any old pots that they're using for like fruit trees or berry bushes, stuff like that. And that's what I use in our backyard. That's just out that way there to great success using grow bags and like 5 or maybe 10-gallon container buckets to grow potatoes this year. And they're actually the best tasting and most aesthetically pleasing to potatoes I've ever grown. And I was able to grow a lot in a tiny amount of space. So that's one benefit I think of using container gardens and grow bags. Let's stay hydrated. Water is important. Water is very important. In particular, I like the grow bags because they allow the roots of the plant to get some soil. And again, they aren't very expensive. Also, like raised beds, they have the added benefit of being able to you're able to keep the grow bags, the containers, more easily weed free than if you're just planting directly in the ground. It's also what they have in common with raised beds. But I would say, obviously, containers and grow bags are going to be, largely quite a bit cheaper to produce, to get than making a raised bed. Probably not as aesthetically pleasing as a raised bed, but they're also much more portable, right? You can just kind of move them, drag them around, place them where you need to, and then also expand, just get more containers, more grow bags, more pots, etc. when you need to. So if you only have a very small amount of space to grow on, let's say you live in an apartment and you only have a balcony to grow on, some grow bags, some containers, probably
50 in 8 minutes.
Good job. That would probably be your best bet, right? Because it's not going to make a whole lot of sense to make or to create, put together a raised bed on a, on your apartment's balcony, right? You can put some containers and some grow bags there and move them around, as you need to, figure out where the sun is, etc. Another way to get food doesn't require you, people in general, whoever's out there, having any land is by foraging, just going out, in the parks, in the natural spaces, going on hikes, when different things are in season, like berries, apples, different, medicinals, mushrooms, etc. Foraging those, right? Like I said, these were foraged from a local park that just used to be some type of old like homestead or something, and there's just a ton of really tasty apples there, and they largely just go to waste. So we go there with our apple picker and just pick away, and literally come away with backpacks and grocery bags full of apples that we can eat fresh, turn into apple chips, make applesauce out of. So foraging is a really great way. And again, it doesn't require you having any type of land, and you're able to get food that way. So some things we like to forage for around here, salmon berries, apples, stinging nettles. See, do I have some back here? Real. So, stinging nettles, 4/29, 2021. So, what is that? 9-10 months ago, something like that. We went on a little hike, local park, natural area, and this early, I guess, that springtime is when nettles are just popping off around here. And you just bring a bag, some clippers, cut them up at the base above kind of the root line a little bit. Probably bring some gloves because they're called stinging nettles for a reason. If you touch them with your bare hand, they will sting you a little bit. If that happens, though, a good a good remedy is to find a fern and rub a fern wherever the stinging nettle got you, and that will take care of it. And then you dehydrate these, food dehydrator, oven, fireplace, whatever you got to use, and these makes incredible tea. I had a nice mason jar full of stinging nettle tea earlier this week, and wow, it's like, yeah, just Google stinging nettle tea, and there's just so many good things in this. It's particularly supposed to be really helpful for people with allergies, and I just find it very, very relaxing and kind of chill. It's like, oh, I drink that. It's like I'm feeling like Buddha over here, this one with the universe type of thing. So foraging, great way to get some, wild food, some really nutrient dense food.
It's actually really good.
Mm-hmm. It is.
It's just a tad bit tart.
I don't think so. I don't know what she's talking about. But foraging is a really great way to get some wild foods into your diet without having to have any type of land or property. Also has the added benefit that you get to get outside and move your body and figure out what is growing, what time of year, and find other people, maybe some friends, get them into that too. And we also forage for mushrooms a little bit. That's definitely not my area of expertise, and I'm talking the medicinal variety, not the psychedelic variety here. I have a buddy who's pretty knowledgeable, and I've went foraging with him a couple of times, which is really fun too. But definitely you got to have a little bit more, knowledge, because you don't want to be foraging for mushrooms and there's like a poisonous look-alike or something like that, right? So but there's all kinds of stuff to forage, and this is just within my particular context here in the Pacific Northwest. So those are different ways to grow and consume food. And let's see, another way, a thing called guerrilla gardening. I've done a little bit of that, and guerrilla gardening is simply planting food in places that it looks like could be a good idea to plant some food, whether it's a local park that you're wanting to add a fruit or a nut tree to, or bush tucker. What is bush tucker? Is that another word for guerrilla gardening? Or like a roundabout, a traffic circle, a median in the road, like wherever you want to plant food and it looks like a good way to do it, go do that. That's like guerrilla gardening. I've done that a little bit. Me and a buddy planted a fig tree at a local park that we like to go hiking at. Didn't survive, didn't really last super long. I think it actually ended up dying, even though we planted it in what we thought was a really Aboriginal word for bush food. That's awesome. But we thought was a good spot for this fig, up against this nice, north or southern facing kind of rock wall to get some heat, because figs are heat loving trees. Ended up dying, so that didn't work out. Then also planted a fig short bike ride from where I live, kind of down by the river. That ended up dying as well. But it's definitely something I want to get more into, and it's kind of cool too. It's like a little act of like rebellion, right? So lots of different ways to grow food, whether it's on your own land, small container garden in your backyard like I have going now, on somebody else's, like I have the food forest on some of my family's property, which I'm super obviously privileged to have access to. Foraging, guerrilla gardening, a community garden plot, which I'm going to put in some applications to get a couple of those this year and see how much food I can get out of that 10 by 20 plot. If I can get to 20 by 40, going to be able to get, frankly, I think several hundred pounds of food out of those spaces, which will be really, really cool. And that's obviously something we need a lot more of, is public land where people are able to grow their own food And if they have an abundance, share it with their, their family, their friends, their broader community, because that's frankly one of my favorite things about having, an abundance of, it's tomatoes or garlic or Asian pears or plums or whatever it is being able to share it with people, because unfortunately in this capitalist system that we live in, it is, a very privileged thing to be able to consume organic food, or being able to have access to the time and space to be able to grow it yourself. So that's definitely, if you have an abundance of it, share the wealth for sure. Yeah, we have community gardens here. That's awesome. How big are the plots at your community gardens there in Australia, Huzzah? Ours here, I just looked it up. It's like 10 by 20, which isn't bad, and you can have up to 2 plots. Sir Bibber one somewhere. I quote you, Sky, for people that don't. Wow, that's pretty cool. Grow what you want, pick what you need. That's very cool. Yeah, that's just something I definitely should have looked into before, because I've lived in our current half of this duplex that we rent for several years, and I've had access to a community garden that's maybe a 3 or 4 minute bike ride away all of that time. But this is the first year that I've put in any effort to kind of know about it. And I'm just like, wow, what took so long? Because again, you can grow a lot of food in a small space if you do it right next to the retirement village. It's awesome. Yeah, we definitely need so much more public land for people to be able to grow their own food, because a lot of people don't own their homes, or if they do, they don't have a whole lot of yard, or people live in apartments and maybe only have a very tiny balcony that they're able to grow food on. So we definitely, at least here in the United States, need a lot more space that's open to the broader public, that they can go and plant fruit trees, plant berry bushes, grow annual fruits in bed, right? And I think super important thing that I've definitely learned through my several years of growing food is you want to start small, and as you get more capable, as you develop more knowledge, grow more from there, expand. Don't bite off, pun intended, don't bite off more than you can chew at once. You're going to get potentially discouraged. Not everything's going to work out like you thought. So start small, right? Like nice 10 by 20 community garden plot is more than enough space to experiment with several varieties of whatever it is that you want to grow. And next year, if you find that's not enough space, then maybe apply for 2 of them, right? Or maybe add a couple of container, gardens to your balcony, and then, get a community garden plot after that, right? You got to figure out what works for you in your particular context, and go from there. And I also think super important, grow things that you're going to like to eat. Like if you don't like beets, if you don't like turnips, don't grow those, right? Like, so I don't grow things that I don't like to eat, because that would be kind of silly, right? So some of the things that I really like to grow and eat, as far as annual fruits and vegetables go, tomatoes. Like tomatoes, eating a sun gold tomato. Let's see if I can find my Instagram here, because I have a lot of pictures from this previous growing season of different food and stuff that I grew. So definitely give me a follow. Oh, can I log in with Facebook? Let's see. Oh, that's not mine. There's so many. Just eating a tomato off the vine and like peak freshness, like really, really hard to beat that. Or like the cucumber. Like, oh my god, dude, so good. So good. It's like such a well, it's not working, but I linked my Instagram down below, but I'll just show you what sun gold tomato. Sun gold tomato. Okay. It's literally like biting into like a piece of the sun or something. They're so fucking good. So freaking good. Okay. I'm just gonna show you what a sun gold tomato looks like, because that during summer it's like hard to beat.
Down.
Yeah. By far and away, my favorite variety of tomato ever. Literally just eat like a bowl of those for a snack in the summer. And I feel so good about it too. Because again, like real superfoods, in my opinion, are homegrown or foraged in the wild. So freaking good. Yep. So grow what you like to eat. Tomatoes,
Yummy.
cucumbers, snap peas.
The cucumbers are amazing.
So like the peas
Carrots.
that you could eat the shell or the pod, but also like the peas themselves. Like those are super good. Carrots, like she said. Just got to figure out how to keep the rabbits from eating the tops, because then the roots don't develop and then I get pissed off at the rabbits. So we got to figure out what to do about that. Potatoes. And also a benefit of potatoes, like it's a good storage crop. Like if you store it correctly, different varieties can last, several months, even just being kept.
Garlic.
Like in your garage. Garlic and potatoes are a staple crop. If you had to, you could, live off potatoes for a while. I saw this. Yeah, we'll leave a little patch of carrots outside of. I heard like chicken wire, chicken fencing works to put around the garden bed, so I think I'm gonna try that to keep them away from the carrots. And then maybe we'll leave a little patch outside of it. Huzzah for the rabbit friends, so they don't feel like they're being completely left out. Yeah, like she said, garlic. We use it in a lot of different dishes with the potatoes. It's super good on in soups, cooking it in beans, stir fries. Also lasts a long time, and if you have extra, you can just save your garlic seed and then you plant that in the fall, and that will be next year's crop. Garlic is one of the things that actually takes a really long time to grow. So here I plant it late October, and it's not ready until late July, mid-August, something like that. So garlic is something that's in the ground for quite a while, but worth it.
Then our last batch of garlic, we had so much of it. We still have probably a couple of heads left, huh?
No, we still have quite a bit of garlic left. We have an abundance of it, so I've been able to
share it.
My partner took it to her work and shared it with some of her coworkers. I brought some more back, so because they wanted some more because they liked it so much. And
my teachers like garlic, so I gave them also.
Yeah, and just like the flavor of it compared to like the store-bought stuff is like night and day. How do you feel about vermiculture from Warren's? That's actually something I did before. I don't remember what happened, but yeah, I used that before, and I know like worm castings are super beneficial, and obviously, if you have a lot of worms in your soil, that's super important. They're adding, the worm castings, the worm poop to the soil, so adding just organic matter and more nutrition for the soil, as well as kind of aerating it while they're moving around. So I definitely think it can be pretty beneficial. What else do we like to grow as far as annuals? I think those are the
we like to grow flowers.
Well,
I do.
Not really, but her and her mom do.
The spicy flowers.
Oh yeah, nasturtiums. Yes, those are nasturtiums. Are like this little spicy annual plant
But it's really good.
that keep coming back year after year in our greenhouse. They are super good. I like picking one of those and then putting like a sun gold tomato in it and eating that. Nasturtiums, so those edible flowers. As it Mantis said, I began gardening 4 years ago. Last year, I raised cauliflower, tomatoes, chili peppers, Russian white, and La Ciento kale, and strawberries. Nice. That's awesome.
Strawberries.
Yeah, strawberries
Raspberries,
are really
blackberries,
amazing.
blueberries.
We have the issue at the food forest on my family's property. We planted strawberries before, and the slugs really love the strawberries. But yeah, we have the red Russian kale. We really like that stuff too. Tomatoes for sure. Tried chili peppers before, but again, had the same issue with the slugs really like the chili peppers. Cauliflower, that's awesome. Thank you, LB Things Stuff and More. Appreciate it. And then some things that I'm going to try to grow this year that I haven't really tried to grow in the past. Hakurai turnips are supposed to be really good, so we're going to try growing those. It's like a white turnip that's just supposed to have really good flavor. I've grown winter squash before. Gonna try that again on the community garden plot, because one thing I like about winter squash, it's another staple crop that's super nutrient dense, and you can get varieties that store for months at a time, which is really amazing. I would store even longer than potatoes, as well as you can save the seeds from those, and then that's your crop for next year. Corn, I'm gonna try corn again. We haven't tried that in a couple years. Just like eating like fresh corn in the summer, super good. It's obviously going to be even better, like the nutrition and the flavor if it's homegrown. So she got to get her workout done. So trying some corn. I said corn, turnips, winter squash. I feel like there's a couple of other things. Onions. Trying onions again. Green onions. Cilantro, because we eat a lot of cilantro. So again, you want to, grow things that you're going to use. Like we use a lot of onions. We use a lot of cilantro. We like corn a lot. If you have excess corn, you could freeze it. You can make corn flour out of it. There's even varieties that you can make or grow for popcorn, and then you make your own, air popcorn and stuff, which is really awesome. And then shallots. So gonna grow some shallots this year, kind of like an onion but smaller and a little milder, and it's supposed to store better, so I'm going to try some of those. The onions, like I said. Something we also like really growing is zucchini. We prefer the yellow zucchini actually, so we're going to grow that. Winter squash, like I said. We're going to try some broccoli. Again, broccoli is something else that I really like to eat, and you can freeze it. I'm going to really go heavy on the carrots, and a storage variety that will stay in the ground really well. Lettuce, like lettuce a lot for sandwiches, salads, just eating by itself, making like little romaine boats. And then a perennial that we're going to put in the ground this year, probably in a raised bed, maybe around some fruit trees potentially, is asparagus. Like fresh asparagus, like baked in the oven with some garlic, with some salt. So good. Or on the barbecue, so good. And also super yes, that's true. And asparagus like can be really fucking expensive at the store, like $4-5 a pound. If you're getting it like a farmer's market, even more. So if you can grow it, like you're gonna be saving a lot of money. What? $6? Yeah, it's expensive. Or even more. Again, that's another huge reason, in my opinion, to grow your own food is you're going to be saving a shit ton of money over time, right? Like you can get a packet of tomato seeds, $5-6. If you even only plant half of those 15 tomato plants, like you're going to be making, $50, $60, $100 worth of tomatoes from that one seed pack. And if you even just bought one little pint-sized container of sun gold tomatoes from the store, from the farmer's market, that's $5-6, right? So you're going to be saving a shit ton of money over time growing your own food. And again, it's going to be the highest quality food that you can put into your body and can share with your family, your friends, your broader community. And it's just really good self-care, and it's just so therapeutic. Also going to be growing some cabbage, really like cabbage, cucumbers for sure, peas, radishes, Brussels sprouts. Also really like Brussels sprouts, and those can be super expensive, at the store, and so fucking delicious, but hard to justify $5 a pound for organic Brussels sprouts, right? So it's like, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna use that $5, go buy a packet of Brussels sprouts and see how they do. Hopefully this time, next year we'd be eating some fresh Brussels sprouts, right? So again, just really wanting to grow things that we like to eat, and being able to share that with family, with friends, with the broader community. There's one I've been growing from start, not brave enough to tackle growing from seed. Yeah, I understand that. I feel like there are definitely certain things that are easier to grow from seed than others. Like I found kale pretty easy to grow from seed. Peas, easy to grow from seed. Beans. What else? Tomatoes, a little bit more work. You just have to have, if you have like a little grow mat that will heat like the bottom of the seed tray that you're growing in, that really helps with germination. And you can get one of those online for $15 or $20 and just be able to use it season after season for things like tomatoes that need a little bit more heat to help them germinate. And something that I'm trying to get more into is seed saving. I've done that in the past with kale with pretty good success. I've been saving the seed, our garlic seed, and using that for several years. I started that this year with a couple of varieties of tomatoes, so I'm really excited to see what type of germination I get from the tomatoes seed that I saved. I saved Sun Gold, and the other variety was Indigo Cherry Drop, this very like kind of dark purple looking tomato. So definitely seed saving is something else really cool, and another way to also, save money, right? You're not having to buy seed, you just save it, right? You cut open a couple of tomatoes, you dry out those seeds, you put them away, in a bag or some type of container, then bring them out when it's time to kind of get that process going. And definitely it takes a lot longer, obviously, to grow a tomato from seed than to get a transplant. But it's a really cool process, right? You start it from seed, and then you're eating what you started from a seed later that summer. I just think that process is really cool, and it can be really worthwhile, but does take a little bit more thought and planning. Yeah, I think you can definitely start kale from seed. I think that's a really good one. It doesn't require as much heat and stuff to germinate, isn't quite as picky or finicky as something like a tomato is, right? And just to illustrate like how much money you can really save on your food bill, particularly with fruit trees. If you have access to your own land or somebody else's, or at a local park or wild area where there's fruit trees growing, like you can save a shit ton of money. There's one persimmon tree that I probably got 50-60 pounds of persimmons, and those go for at least $3 a pound. I don't even know if those were organic. So just this one year, literally $200 worth of some of the highest quality dankest fruit you could ever get. And I'm almost out of them. This is one of the persimmons I've been eating up these trees for over 2 months at that point, which is really cool. All right. Yeah, so point being, grow what you like to eat. Like, and be really pissed off, like you grow a bunch of zucchini and you don't like it, right? Like, grow stuff you know you like to eat. Sun is very key. Some plants, yeah, I love persimmons too. I started saving some of the seeds from these to hopefully get some of those going and just plant them wherever. We need more persimmon. We need more fruit trees in general in the world, right? Sun is key. Certain things require less sun than others. So in general, leafy stuff like lettuce, kale, cilantro, that's not going to require and need as much sun as root crops or things like tomatoes or cucumbers. So you really want to be familiar with how, you know, the sun moves and shades the growing area. And again, the sun goes east to west. Southern facing is going to get a lot more sun than northern facing. So be very intentional with what you plant and where you plant it, because again, certain things are going to want and need more sun than others, while other things are going to, you know, tolerate a bit more shade. Things like, again, you know, cilantro, lettuce, kale, etc. Right? Versus tomato, not going to do very good if it's not getting, you know, at least 6, if not 8+ hours of sun each day, right? And also, you know, a big thing is, like, you know, more than likely, depending on how much you're growing and what you're growing, you might not be able to use all of it right at that time of its peak freshness. So you need to find ways to preserve the harvest so you're able to enjoy things like apple chips in January, or nettle tea in January, February, March, whenever, right? So these were obviously both dehydrated. That's a good way to preserve certain things. Canning is another great way to preserve things. This is some zucchini relish me and my friend made September 16th of last year, and super good. We don't use it relish very often, but when we need to, we have it, and it's really good. So canning, we've canned the zucchini relish before. I'll go grab the pickles.
Oh, our pickles. That's delicious. You should tell them our trick about them.
Some pickles. We make huge batches of these pickles. We didn't grow these pickling cucumbers. We got these from the farmer's market, but I'm going to try to grow our own pickling cucumbers this year. And again, the key to getting a nice crunchy pickle, if you're canning it, making it yourself, you need the pickling cucumbers. We've made the mistake ourselves in the past using full-size cucumbers and trying to make pickles out of them. They just get kind of mushy and soft and gross. Okay. These ones, you don't have that problem. And you got a nice little clove of homegrown garlic in there, all kinds of different spices and stuff. And again, super fucking expensive to get good quality pickles at the store, and guarantee it, they do not taste as good as this.
I'm gonna sit over here. I'm gonna just add on 50 tomorrow.
Dehydrating is good preserver too. I used it for squash, tomatoes, and strawberries. Oh, awesome. Oh, I've never thought about using that for a dehydrator for squash. So that's pretty interesting.
Never heard of it.
I could see it using for like strawberries. I could see that being pretty tasty, just kind of like with the apples. Tomatoes. I've done that for tomatoes too, never for squash. That's interesting. Yep. So dehydrating, canning, freezing. Freezing is also a good option. We do that a lot with our blackberries, because there's just, again, an overabundance. We could never possibly use all of the blackberries that are, ready in the summer. And so we freeze them and use them in things like oatmeal or smoothies or whatever it is. Oh, that's awesome. So freezing, another good option. We also do that with extra tomatoes, and then we can use those in things like soup to add, flavor, as well as, adding nutrition, right? Because those were picked at their peak freshness, put away in the deep freeze, and then we bring them out when we need them. Or in like beans and stuff to give them flavor. So freezing stuff, another good way. Something I like about canning, though, that's really cool, is that it doesn't require any type of refrigeration until you open it. So she went and grabbed the pickles from the fridge. And show them how crunchy they are.
Let me get off all this stuff.
Well, we gave a couple pints of these to my dad, and like he said, like it's ruined store-bought pickles for him. Like he just can't bring himself to buy any from the store.
They look really good.
And again, the key for the crunchiness, you got to get the pickling cucumbers, the small cucumbers that are about that big. You go for the 8-9 inch, regular slicing cucumbers. They're going to turn out. Yeah.
Listen, if you don't like sounds of people chewing, mute it.
Thank you for the demonstration. My place chewing this. So freezing the excess, canning, dehydrating, freezing. Depending on what you're trying to preserve, going to depend probably on what method. Obviously, freezing is a lot less crunch. Freezing is a lot less time consuming than canning, but
One has a whole
this is really awesome. Having, homegrown pickles. These weren't homegrown. The pickles weren't, but we did can this ourselves. Pickling
it's
cucumbers.
It's really easy to can. It just takes a long time.
Takes time, but it's definitely worth it, because again, these honestly make a really good present or gift for people. I might give, if we still have them by my dad's birthday, just wrap up one of these for him, because they are really really valuable and super, super good.
It's near mine.
This is in May. So preserving the excess, super important, because again, depending on how much you're growing and what you're growing, it's more than likely you're not going to be able to eat all of it fresh, at the time. Really, really good.
You're trying to think while you eat the pickle.
I don't know if there's anything. Oh, and then let's see. Yes, soil. Let's talk a little bit about soil before we end here.
So we usually get 5 bags. It costs a lot of money, but it's definitely worth it.
5 bags of what?
5 bags of your weird thing in the box.
Oh, so soil health is super important. You want to take care of the soil. The less tilling you do to the soil, the less you disturb it, the better. Just because when you do that, you're messing up the soil biology and the structure of it. And as well as the more you till, the more you dig, the more than likely the higher the weed pressure is going to be. So the less you have to dig, the less you have to till, the better. And the more organic matter you can add to the soil, the better, whether it's compost, either homemade or store-bought, is super important. Adding things like cover crops can be super helpful too, especially ones that fix nitrogen. And again, a good way to not have to mess with the soil a lot is to cover it up when you're not using it with things like a couple layers of cardboard or using plastic, but I'm trying to get away from that, so that's why we're transitioning more to cardboard, or using things like
a lot of cardboard.
Burlap sacks can also work really good, because again, if you have the bed covered when you're not using it, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and effort, and again, you're not going to have to use the shovel, use the spade, use the rototiller, etc. as much when you're covering up the bed when you're not using it.
What are the sacks?
Oh, for that, the potting soil?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for our backyard, we just have some containers and grow bags, so we don't have a huge space, and I've just been buying potting soil.
Off of Amazon?
No, from the Do-It-Center.
Really?
Yeah,
Ooh,
local hardware store.
what?
Just been buying high-quality potting soil, and it seems to do really good. Again, the best, adding eggshells to the surface soil.
You want to show this?
Sure. Desert mantis. My neighbor recommended adding eggshells to the soil surface. She says it helps repel slugs. I have not heard of that, but it makes sense to me that it could help because the eggshells would be kind of sharp, probably wouldn't feel super good on the slugs. Some things we found effective with repelling
Pennies,
slugs.
spear things.
Pennies to a certain extent, copper tape, but that can get kind of expensive. And yeah, it doesn't always stay in the place you want it to be. Putting out little cans of beer, getting really cheap beer from wherever, putting it in a little container, kind of burying it in the soil, particularly next to crops that they like. For us, that's things like cucumbers, lettuce,
cucumbers, strawberries,
stuff like that. And they really love their cheap beer. They get drunk and they die. It's sad, but I mean, I'd rather have them
maybe they don't feel any pain because
go out
drunk.
that way than eat our cucumbers and whatnot. So that sawdust, really fine sawdust as well. Obviously you don't want it to be coming from like treated wood or anything, but if you can get your hands on some high quality sawdust,
like the trees over
well, those are like wood chips, but
I know, but if you grounded them like this,
yeah, really fine, like high quality sawdust we found has worked really good with repelling slugs. And also too, like another way to not have to deal with slugs is to grow things that they don't like. So that's why we grow stuff in our backyard that we wouldn't grow on my family's property, because there's a lot more slug pressure there. Our backyard is a slightly different microclimate. It's a little bit drier and not as wet, so we don't have as much slug pressure here. So we grow more lettuce and stuff like that. But
the bad thing is, though, that backyard's so small that we can't grow as much as we usually want to, or like how we like to. Over there, it just sucks because we like growing stuff there more than our backyard, especially because my mom, if the backyard's dirty, she gets on to him.
She gets all angry at me. She does. Backyard aesthetics are important for her. For me, take it or leave it, but
you're going to have to put this in the fridge soon. It's trying to get soft.
Almost. But yeah, this is an astringent variety of persimmon, meaning it has to be very soft before you eat it. Otherwise, it's going to have like a battery. It's going to be like biting into a battery if it's not.
You've been into a battery before?
I have. Yeah, it was not good. I wouldn't recommend it.
Why did you bite into a battery?
Somebody dared me
to. Okay.
But
good to know.
Again, to her point, that's why we're getting some community garden plots this year to expand. And again, they're pretty close to our house, like a 3 or 4 minute bike ride away. So I'll be able to get some exercise in, go water them, go plant stuff, etc.
We're going to change the subject for 1 minute, by the way. So, Tutu. So, at my school, we do good things. What was your good thing for today? You could do a couple, because I'm doing a couple.
Going on a walk with you and hanging out with Sissy all day.
Okay. Mine were, hi, Clarence. He just sounded like a little bird. What? He is? He looks like...
That's our cat. 20-pound cat.
The other one's sitting over there.
He likes to poop on the floor in our bathroom and pee on it. That's where his litter box is.
Our other cat,
even when
he
it's
does nothing.
Been cleaned recently, so...
The other cat, he does nothing. He sleeps all day, which is our favorite.
Yep. Yeah, we go to the farmer's market when we can too. Yeah, we're probably going to one tomorrow, actually.
I have bruise on my leg. I do not know what from, but it hurts whenever I push on it.
That's not good.
Maybe I hit myself.
Let's see. Was there anything else I wanted to cover? Yeah. So take care of the soil. It will take care of you. And again, it's also helpful too, to cover the soil when you're not using it. Helps with things like erosion, kind of important, because I think what's predicted, like the soil, topsoil in the United States will be gone in like 50 years or something like that. It helps with erosion, weed control, keeping the soil happy and healthy so you're not having to disturb it. Lots of different ways to grow. Just find out what works for you, experiment, see what works, what doesn't, adapt, and make the changes. And again, I don't find it's that intimidating of a process. I feel like some people maybe think it is before they've grown anything, but once you get your hands in the soil, start planting some seeds, start watering, start seeing things come to life, like, oh, this really isn't that difficult at all, frankly. And again, just grow what you like to eat, start small, grow from there, figure out the direction of the sun, and then plant accordingly to what crops need the most sun, what can handle a little bit more shade. Northern facing is going to get less sun than southern facing. Preserve the excess, preserve the abundance, as well as share it with your family, with your friends, with your broader community, and figure out what if you're in the US, what USDA hardiness zone you're in, so you can figure out different planting dates and when what fruit trees might do good in your area, and as well as getting into seed saving too. That's something I want to get more into.
I'm going to try and guilt trip him into going live on Sunday. So, watch out for that video if we do.
Like the video. If you like
Peace.
the video. I think that's a different language, but I wish there was like a translate button or something. That would be cool. Yeah. Like the video if you like the damn video. Grow your own food. It is, feel like, one of the best things you can do for your physical health, for your mental health, for the health of your family, your broader community, and try to encourage and teach other people how to do it. Super important. It's something that we used to have to do to survive, and now we can just go to the grocery store and stuff. But obviously the best quality food is going to be homegrown or foraged.
Peace. Bye.
Peace out, y'all.